Hey guys, thanks so much for stopping by. My name's Austin. Today we're taking a look at the Hasbro Star Wars The Black Series Anakin Skywalker and Clone Captain Rex from the Star Wars Ahsoka TV series. I don't collect a lot of Black Series stuff, but I am a pretty decent Star Wars fan. Not a huge fan of most of the stuff coming from modern Star Wars, as many aren't. But I collect stuff when it appeals to me, and Clone Wars stuff is definitely a niche that I fit pretty conveniently into. So, a bit of a shorter review today. There's not as much to talk about with these releases, so I figured I'd just pack them into a double review and get both of them out of the way so I don't waste too much of your time talking about the same things over and over again with two separate reviews. So, getting right into it, the packaging on the side, pretty standard Black Series packaging if you guys are familiar with it. Pretty good art that does a good job of showing the character as well as kind of representing the figure. With it being artwork, it's kind of nice to have something more unique to the package. I appreciate that Black Series does that. Then you have the write up for the character on the back as well as the legalese, to make sure that you don't eat anything that you're not supposed to eat. We have this kind of, I don't know what color you would call this. Is this kind of like an aquamarine kind of blue for the Ahsoka series? I like that as well, that they do that. You have more legal stuff on the bottom, nothing on the top. And then on the other side, just a little bit of space for some light to get in case you're an inbox collector. But that's all I've got for the boxes, so let's go ahead and get into the actual figures. And before we move on, if you find yourself watching the video, you're enjoying it, please do leave a like. It really helps out the channel, and it gives me an idea of how much people are really vibing with the content and how much it's really connecting with you. So, alrighty, we'll go ahead and move on now to the aesthetics. Looking at aesthetics, we're going to start with each of these sections, start with Anakin and then move on to Captain Rex. I really love this head sculpt. We're going to, with comparisons, look at the original Hayden Christensen head, and this is definitely an improvement. So much so that I'm even considering switching it over to my Revenge of the Sith Anakin, but I'm not sure because this really does also convey his Clone Wars appearance. If it was a live action series, obviously this is also how he looked in Ahsoka, but I didn't really love Ahsoka. So, anyways, really nice paintwork, picking out the Republic insignia there, kind of the Jedi Order insignia. Really like that. I love this chest piece, this kind of pauldron. It's a reference to his Vader outfit, but it also shows his rank in the Republic Army. Really love that. The soft goods is done very well here, keeping it kind of minimal. You just have the bottom skirt and then this overlay that really looks good. I love the color difference between this version and the Revenge of the Sith. There is a decent bit of reuse with the legs, I believe, being complete reuse of the Revenge of the Sith Anakin, as well as this arm, I believe, is complete reuse. This one, I believe, is new, at least from this point down. But at the very least, it's kind of recolored. Oh, also the belt is reused. But at the very least, it's it's recolored to match with how he looks in the animated series as well as the live action. So aesthetics on this are very, 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 very solid. I think all in all, Black Series is one of the best when it comes to the look of figures. Sometimes their head sculpts aren't 100%, but I feel like they do some of the best soft goods, the best combination of hard plastic, soft plastic, and soft goods. But aesthetics on this guy, yeah, very, very solid. Definitely going to look good on your shelf. Moving on to Captain Rex, a bit of an interesting thing. Because he comes with a removable helmet, I'm going to go over the helmet and accessories, especially because that section is going to be so short. This is also a good head sculpt. I don't love the color of his hair. I feel like it's a little bit too yellow. It comes out a little bit yellower on camera, but I assure you it's pretty yellow in person as well. But the Timuera Morrison likeness is definitely there. It definitely looks more live action than animated, and I like that. I appreciate that, especially with Black Series. I don't really collect the animated versions because I kind of like it to be cohesive and feel like the live action interpretation. So really like that. Again, all in all, this is pretty much complete reuse, I think, of the Clone Trooper Phase 1 body. You have this kind of floating chest piece that allows for articulation. We'll go over that. This floating pauldron here, I don't love how floppy it is, but at the same time, it does get out of the way, and it's a soft plastic, so I think it's kind of six one way, half a dozen another. I don't love how floppy it is, but I do like that it doesn't impede articulation too much. You have the kind of floating ring design for the shoulder pads, so that's really nice. It kind of sits where it should. It will get misshapen if you leave it in a pose for too long, but if you put it back, it'll go back to a normal position. You also have these skirt pieces. I believe these are new pieces. I could be wrong. Maybe there's an existing Captain Rex figure that did this, but love the paintwork on this as well. The blue looks great. It is very, very clean. I don't really see any issues with the paintwork anywhere. This isn't painted, but I don't really even know if it's supposed to be. I mean, the Clone Trooper armor was always very, it was CGI, so it was definitely a little bit flat in some areas. But yeah, looks really good. I really love both of the aesthetics on these figures. I think all in all, they look very, very solid. So now we will get into the very short accessories segment. When it comes to accessories, for Anakin, all you get is this Graflex hilt. That being said, it is extremely well detailed. The paintwork is so clean, down to that kind of crisp gold button. The only thing it's missing are the very slight black marks across it. But I mean, man, that would be incredibly difficult to get. I think there's also supposed to be like a red dot here, but again, very, very small. And you do get the red dot here, which is super clean, stays in place. Do have a bit of a mold line, but it's a singular plastic piece, so that's understandable. Then you get the blade. This is kind of a newer style blade connector, which I like. It has a little, I'm not tapping it right, it has a little mushroom on it that kind of helps it seat in place. The only thing I would say is maybe popping it in and out over and over again might end up compromising it, but I think it'll work better for like if you take a shelf dive. I've had multiple of these break. I'm hoping that this new style doesn't break. I believe I have the Luke Skywalker from the him and Grogu 2-pack. I think it's the same, and I haven't had issues with that yet. So all in all, really happy with this new design. I think it'll work well, but very simple. You also are able to peg this into the figure on the belt if you don't want him holding it. I love that. It's one of my favorite ways to display a Jedi. I just love the way that it looks hanging off a hilt like that, or the hilt hanging off a belt like that. Really, really cool. Gives a little bit of versatility, but yeah, no optional hand parts, which I would really like to see for Jedi figures. I believe the San Diego Comic-Con exclusive 2-pack, Obi-Wan and Anakin, have interchangeable hands. I'm really hoping that I don't think it's going to become a standard, because that's obviously a very expensive 2-pack, and it's going to be difficult to get. So I don't know. I would really like for some Force kind of hands. I don't even need full-on effect pieces. I just would like a more expressive hand option, or maybe even a fist. A relaxed hand would be nice. But yeah, Force effect hands would be really great for Jedi. I don't know why Hasbro hasn't implemented that with Black Series when they do it with Legends, but yeah. All in all, accessories on this guy, you get what you absolutely need, bare minimum, but could be better. Then for Captain Rex, again, I would say bare minimum, but what you need. You get the helmet. It has this little targeting bit. I think it's a targeting thing. That's what it is for Boba Fett. I know in Empire he uses it in his ship. I'm not actually sure. Let me know in the comments. I can't remember if these clone helmets are, if they're just antenna for like communication devices or what. I actually can't remember. But it does rotate down if it's supposed to. If not, it's probably just, because it's pegged in there, and if it was solid, it would break even easier. So it's kind of cool. Gives you options for display. And then you get these two guns. No paint, just, matte black, or kind of a grayish black, but they're well sculpted. They fit in the hands real well. They fit in the holsters even better. Really like these. Again, it would have been good to have some optional hand pieces. You get these two, they're basically both trigger fingers. This one is much more of a trigger finger than this one, but they both do work. This you can kind of tell is that standard clone hand that's supposed to be holding the rifle with the offhand, you know, the DC-17, I think is what it's called. I would have preferred a more dedicated trigger finger, but this one works just fine. And if you did want to display him with an actual rifle, you could do that with this as well, even though it's not included. But yeah, I would say for these guys, it would be nice to just get some optional hand pieces for 25 bucks. I think they could have splurged for that. But that's all I've got for accessories. So moving on now to articulation. When it comes to articulation with Black Series, I find myself being a combination of disappointed and pleased. They do some things that are steps in the right direction and some things that aren't. So getting right into it, we have a double ball peg for the neck. It's kind of nice. It allows you to get the neck kind of more natural posing when looking side to side. It doesn't really engage that much back, but it does down. So when you engage both, he can bury the chin really well, give that angsty Anakin look. He looks up a bit, but it's blocked by the hair. I think he looks up enough for this, you know, sculpt. You're limited by what you can do. You got to have the mullet, so you don't really have an option there. Side to side is very good, very expressive. Really happy with that. Glad that they did a double ball peg. It's the way to go. Then down to the shoulders, it's hidden, but you do get a bit of a butterfly joint. It goes more forward than it does back, but it goes. These are also on that kind of pet, or on that ring inside the shoulder. Very, very well hidden, but you can kind of see it in there a little bit. This does really good to kind of keep it going with the arm. You get a lot of options, but yeah, shoulder goes all the way around if you want to finagle with it. The cloth goods don't get too much in the way. You just have to kind of move them around every once in a while. Goes a little bit above 90. Yeah, taps out right there. No bicep swivel. It would be kind of nice to see that, but you do get elbow swivel. It stops a little bit right there because of that kick out, but that's pretty solid. And then it stops right there. So this is pretty good in lieu of bicep rotation, but then you only get a single jointed elbow. And that's, I mean, what are we doing? We're in 2025 and we're still doing single jointed elbows on action figures. I mean, I kind of get it for vintage collection because you're going for a more retro feel, but this is a 6-inch, 1/12 action figure. We have standards in place for action figures and they're still doing single jointed elbows. Okay. Not happy with that at all. Would really prefer double jointed elbows. That is definitely the thing that I'd like to see out of this line. Then you get simple hinge wrists. They can swivel and hinge up and down. No trigger. Same on the other side. Then you have your chest. This is a solid piece of plastic underneath this, so you have just articulation at the waist. Goes forward about that far, not much at all. What is this, a McFarlane figure? We got jokes here. Arcs back decently, I guess you could call that decent. I don't know. It's not great. That's another area that they probably could improve. Maybe adding a diaphragm joint or another ball peg. It's not terrible. I didn't really notice it too much when trying to pose him. It didn't cause too much of a problem. Also, the belt floats a little bit, so you can kind of mess with the soft goods and get them out of the way. Down to the waist, we're going to do a little upskirt. Sorry about that, Anakin. Pretty simple setup. Can go forward about 90. Pretty good. Pretty solid. Go out not much at all. You're not getting a deep split out of this guy at all. Definitely would like to see more out of that. But you do get a thigh cut, so no elbow cut, but thigh cut. We're more advanced on the bottom part than we are on the upper part, because look at that, double jointed knee. I will say this is kind of an ugly knee. I would think that there's a better way to do it, but it's also baggy pants, so I'm not going to knock them too much. You get a lot better range out of it. Works really well. Pretty heavy detents, but not too bad. The gummy joints aren't as bad on these figures as they are on Legends, so happy with that. Then down to the ankle, you get forward, back, really, really far back, really good, really like that, and then crazy ankle pivot, so you can pivot with the best of them. So all in all, good. Would like to see a lot more improvement from Hasbro on their articulation, definitely in the arms and a little bit in the shoulders. I think they could definitely stand to improve a little bit. Not a big difference between that guy and this guy. His head goes about the same. They're both on that double ball peg at the neck, so that works well. This chest being kind of open and movable does allow for more articulation, though, so I do like that. Do really appreciate that. We have very, very slight, probably better to tell on this side, very, very slight butterfly joint. I couldn't remember the word there. Doesn't go back very much. Honestly, is there? Yeah, no, there's butterfly in there. It's just very limited, but it gets the job done. It works. It actually works pretty well for shooting poses, like if you're going to do a two-handed shot pose. Then same problem. You do have bicep cut, which is nice. Bicep swivel. No elbow swivel, which is fine. But then again, single joint. I don't know. Same. This is another thing, actually, that I kind of forgot during the other segments. This doesn't have the trigger swivel. It has the kind of up and down swivel. So, again, it's kind of supposed to be offhand, which isn't the end of the world. This one does have trigger, so it can go kind of up and down rather than in and out. I don't really know what the cardinal directions are for wrists, but anyways. Then down here, they did their best with this articulation scheme. That looks super weird, but it just is what it is. I mean, this armor does kind of just get in the way naturally. You're limited on your options there. So I appreciate the attempt. I'm not going to hazard a guess at what would be better. If you have any ideas, if you're a little bit more experienced with Black Series, maybe an idea. I mean, thigh cut would be nice, I think. You don't get out very far. It's hard to tell if that's more hampered by the skirt or the actual armor design, but pretty good overall. Better than Anakin. Less back, better forward, so that's good. And slightly limited pivot, but I mean, that's a very relative term. This is super, super deep. So all in all, articulation on both of these guys is good. I would say the clone articulation is a little bit better. He is a little bit more limited than a standard clone because of his accoutrement, but I think it's good. Once again, though, those single jointed elbows, they're just not good. But now we will move on to comparisons. First off, for comparison, we have the Phase 1 clone and Super Battle Droid from that 2-pack that was recently released. I can confirm after messing with this one a little bit, it does have pretty expressive butterfly joints. I think it's just a little bit hindered by his design, but yeah. Also, just quick note, I love how well this guy balances. He's so easy to put in a pose, shockingly, because he's so weirdly proportioned, but Hasbro really knocked it out of the park with that figure. They also did really good with this, and it was a no-brainer to do that. Scaling looks really good, so we'll move on to the New Hope Anakin that was recently released by Hasbro, and then this is a J&B Toys Fallen Savior Episode 3 Anakin, kind of a third-party, fully soft goods figure. This figure's super cool, but just keep in mind he scales a little bit funky. He's kind of musculature or physiologically he's kind of scrawny, but then size-wise he's a little bit tall. But yeah, this is an awesome figure. If you guys would like a review of that, comment below. Let me know. I'll sound like Jeremy Johns. I would be happy to do a review because it's a really cool figure. It comes with a lot of stuff, but it also has a little bit of weirdness, kind of jankiness to it, with this being, I think, like the company's second release of all of their lines, maybe third. Anyways, other thing, this New Hope Luke, I feel like he's a little bit short, but maybe this is accurate. It's hard to say, but yeah, they look pretty good together. You can kind of see the family resemblance, I guess. But yeah, on to the next comparison. Here's the Archive Obi-Wan from Revenge of the Sith and the Anakin from Revenge of the Sith. I'm not sure if this is an archive. I actually honestly got it secondhand. Right off the bat, this is a huge improvement over this head sculpt. There's more paint on this one, but it's just not all there. This looks so good despite being maybe a little bit softer. But you can also really see the reuse between the two, the arms and the legs, or the arm and the legs. The difference, interestingly enough, though, this seems like a new hand because there's a little bit more of a flare out on the glove. But yeah, these guys look really good together, and hopefully I can get my hands on that SDCC 2-pack because these are definitely some old figures. They are showing their age, and they are due for a redesign. So that is all I actually have for comparisons. Now we'll go ahead and get into the conclusion. Wrapping up my review now on the Hasbro Black Series Star Wars Ahsoka, Clone Captain Rex, and Anakin Skywalker. I definitely recommend these figures if you are a fan of the series, if you are a fan of the Clone Wars, if you're a fan of Star Wars in general, and if you can get past some of the jank that comes with Black Series. These are not reinventing the wheel, I'll be completely honest. They are exactly where they need to be for a solid release in their line. I have my ranking system: first grade, high grade, real grade, master grade, perfect grade. Real grade is kind of supposed to be very much middle of the road, does what it's supposed to do, recommended if you're a fan. And that's exactly where I'm going to put these. I don't think that they did anything that really blew me away. Captain Rex has good articulation, but it's something we already saw on the Phase 1 clone, which was a big improvement, but it's definitely still in need of some improvements. I mean, you can see from this pose, I didn't spend too long on it, but it definitely didn't do exactly what I wanted it to do, to be completely honest. Also, Anakin loves to fall over. Definitely put a figure stand on him, and that's kind of the same way with the Revenge of the Sith Anakin. So, unfortunately, they didn't really fix that issue. He's not balanced super well. But that is all I have for these two figures. Hopefully, you enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like, comment below, and tell me what you think of Ahsoka, of Clone Wars, of these figures, of Black Series as a whole. Just any kind of conversation piece. I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say. But all right, hope you guys have a good one.